Hey everybody, it's Carl the Computer Guy again with your computer tips, tricks, and information to keep your computer safe and up to date and you're moving forward in the world. Today we're going to talk about what kind of printer do you need. You might already have one or you might be in the market for one or just need to know what to purchase next time you get around to it. So here's a bunch of pictures of printers here, but we're going to go over what you're going to need for your specific needs. So first of all, are you a business or a homeowner? That's going to be your biggest question. We'll start with homeowners and we'll move over to business. So, homeowner, you got two basic ones. You're going to have a photo printer. Well, I guess three: photo printer, an everyday printer, and a laser printer, just to get you by and do what you want to do for big print jobs. So, to start with, a photo printer is going to be something that's going to be able to print really good photos. So, do you take a lot of photos and you want to print them instead of taking them over to Walmart or Walgreens or some other photo shop to get your pictures off your SD cards? If you like to do your own thing and you like to print your own photos, then you want to look for a photo printer. The thing about photo printers is the more colors of ink you have, the better quality picture you're going to have. So when you're looking, you don't want one that's just got the black, blue, red, and yellow. You want to have one that has, cyan, magenta, light magenta, yellow. It'll have a gray. Some of them even have true green on them anymore. So you want to just keep an eye out and get what you want to use. The more inks you have, of course, the more expensive it's going to be. Also, the better the picture will be. So if you're going to be doing a lot of high end pictures, then you want to do, the more inks and get some really good pictures out of them. If you're just doing everyday pictures and you want to do, a few pictures here or there, then you can get one of those ones that have, the blue, red, and yellow and a black, and they will do okay printer pictures. Like this one here, we'll do, an Epson. It'll do okay pictures. I mean, they'll still come out looking good. If you look really close to them, or you're taking a small picture and you're blowing it up into pixels, that's when you get a lot more grainy on some of those other printers that don't have as many inks because there's not much filler for them. So just keep that in mind. So if you're doing pictures, now if you're just doing everyday, documents and you want to print, color documents here and there, stuff like that, no problem. You just get a regular everyday printer. You want to look for something that's got the red, black, blue, and yellow. Then you'll be able to, and it's magenta and cyan, I know, but most people call them pink and blue. But either way, those are the three main colors: magenta, cyan, and yellow. So you're going to look for one that has the capabilities that you want. So do you want to do a lot of scanning, or are you just a printer? Do you want to be able to fax, make copies, all that kind of stuff? So if you want to fax, scan, or copy, it's called a 4-in-1, and that's pretty much any printer out there that has a scanning table on top. So you'll see these ones here, like this one here, has a document feeder on top, and it also has a glass underneath this. So if we were to lift this up, you'd have the glass to lay your document on. So the feeder is great because if you got multiple documents, you can stick stuff in the feeder and it will either copy or scan multiple things at once, just spit them through. Or you can go with something that just has a glass top like this one will, and you just do one at a time. You put one page on, scan it or copy it, put one page on, scan it or copy it. And when you're looking, if you do faxing, you're going to have to make sure that the machine does faxing. It used to be 4-in-1s did everything, but they're getting rid of faxes because nobody really uses them anymore except for the government and hospitals. So there's not many home printers that are doing the fax anymore because a lot of people don't even have a fax line to hook it to. So just keep that in mind. For an everyday printer, you're going to be looking from $80 to $200 or $300. But when I send people to look for printers, I tell them, okay, now that you found the printer you kind of like, go over to the ink aisle, look up what the ink's going to cost you. That's going to be your long-term cost. So it might be a $100 printer, but the ink might be $50 each. So you can pay for another printer by the time you buy all the inks again. Or you can spend a little bit more on like a $250 printer, but the inks are $20 a piece. So a lot easier to spend on and get, so that way you can keep printing for long term without spending a fortune. So always go over to the ink aisle just to see what your ink's going to be running. It's going to fluctuate a little bit up and down over the years, but you're going to have an idea of where you're starting at, because if the printer's $80 and the ink's $50, it really doesn't make much sense unless you're just somebody that's hard on printers and just keeps throwing them away anyway. So keep that in mind. And then if you're going to do a lot of document printing, or you don't do much at all, like you do one page every month or so, I would suggest you might look at a laser printer. So a laser printer doesn't have the wet ink in it, so it doesn't dry up. Out where we're at, we end up with a lot of dry ink heads because nobody prints all the time, and then the ink just gets plugged up in the little tiny little ports that they have, and you can ruin a printer by just not using it because the ink just dries up, and then we can't get the heads to break free, at least not without spending hundreds of dollars trying to fix them. So keep that in mind. So if you're not going to be printing a lot at all, the nice thing about a laser is it's dry powder that it puts on the thing and then cooks it with a laser, hence the laser printer. So you can do that, and it will last a lot longer. You'll be able to have dry ink, dry toner. It's called toner in a laser jet, and you, sorry, and then you can use it for a lot longer with more gaps in between. Also, lasers are cheaper to run in the long term if you do a lot of printing. So if you are, I don't know, volunteering at a church and you do a lot of the brochures or something, a laser printer will be cheaper per page to run than an inkjet because you can get a lot more toner than you can ink into one of these printers, and you'll be able to do it that way. Save yourself a little bit of money in the long run. Yes, they cost a little bit more to start with, but if you only do black, you're only looking about $100 for the machine. If you do color, you are looking for about $400. You're going to pay about $100 a color on a laser printer. But once you have it up and running, um, it's just the toner long term as you go. So just keep that in mind and go with that. Now, if you're a business owner, what kind of printing are you doing? If you're doing just a lot of invoices and things like that, you probably want to go with a laser printer. You're looking at either color or black, same kind of concept. You're going to get a lot more out of it in the long run. And the laser's got a nice, crisp, clear picture for invoices and things like that. They don't do great pictures at all. So if you're going to want to do pictures on a laser, they're going to come out But you can print invoices and documents and brochures or whatever to keep yourself going. And they do a really good job, and they will last longer because you can get like 10,000 prints out of a laser printer every month versus about 1,000, 1,500 out of a inkjet before they start being used up. So that's just a typical usage on these. Also up here, if you can see these, if you do drafting, you probably know more about those kind of printers than I do at the moment. I used to do a little bit of drafting, but you are looking at a wide format printer, and there's many on the market depending on what you do, whether you're going to be doing big photos or just big plans, whatever. Those are other business ones, but you've probably been in the business long enough to know about those. And if you do have questions, you can always shout at me, and I will give you my information that I do know. Like I said, I did do a little bit of CAD a few years ago, so I do have some information. And then there is the big format printers, which also for a business, if you're doing laser, you can get some that have two drawers on them, so that you can have checks in one and paper in another. Or if you can do legal in one and 8.5 by 11 in one. Or you can just fill them both up with 8.5 and 11, and you can have a lot more printing going on. So keep that in mind. You can always add second second trays to some of these. I was looking for, here we go. Here's a big giant laser printer. So this is for big offices. Now you're going to be looking at whether you want to rent one of these kind of machines or purchase one of these, and you're going to have to find out what the benefits are between them. Some of the rentals are pretty good because the maintenance contract is good and they do cover a lot of stuff. You usually pay per per print, per copy, per everything that you put through, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever it is these days. Or you can purchase a machine, you're looking at $10,000 or so, and you can print it all you want with whatever toner you put in there. And if it breaks, you just pay for a service call. So, pros and cons on either side. You just have to figure out what's going to be best for you. But that's another printer that you can look at if you're doing a lot of printing. Like if you're pushing, 20,000 pages a month, then one of these might be a better fit for you because you can get longer runs out of these. Or some of these will have separators. So if you do a lot of packets that you staple together, these will separate and staple. You can get all sorts of fancy add-ons to these things, and they'll do just about everything. So depending on what your office does on if you want to go this route. If you are just, a regular small business office, this is probably overkill. Like I said, unless you're into doing a lot of printing for whatever business you do, you'd probably be better off with another, just a laser printer that can keep up with your needs versus, tens, thousands of dollars for one that you might use potential, once a year maybe. So printers in a nutshell. You can always reach out with other questions and concerns. Please let me know if you found this helpful, and I will see you on the next one.